Okay, let's talk about a word that can make pretty much anyone, student or not, get a little tense. Assessment. For most of us, right, it just brings back these memories of cramming for a test or that pit in your stomach waiting for a final grade. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? Let's dive into this.
So is assessment just a final judgment? You know, a stamp that says you passed or you failed? Or could it actually be something else? Something more like a helpful tool, designed not to judge you, but to actually guide you? That's really the core question we're going to unpack here.
Because to really get its power, we first have to move past this idea that an assessment is only about the grade you get on a report card. It is so much more than that. I mean, when we hear assessment, our brains immediately jump to tests and quizzes. And yeah, of course, those count. But the term itself is actually way broader. Think about it. Presentations, class discussions, projects, even those quick exit tickets at the end of a class. All of these are types of assessment. They're all just different ways of checking in on how the learning is going.
And this is where a really crucial distinction comes in. Honestly, it's one that changes the entire game. The difference between summative and formative assessment.
So let's start with summative assessment. This is the one we're all familiar with, right? It's the final exam, the big term paper, the final project. It happens at the end of a learning period, and its whole job is to evaluate what you've learned, to kind of give you a final summary. And then you've got formative assessment. This happens during the learning process. See, it's not about getting a final grade. It's about checking in on learning while it's still happening. It's like a coach giving you pointers during practice, not just handing you a score after the game is already over.
You can really see the difference right here. Summative assessment, its purpose is to judge mastery. It happens at the end, and it feels like a final grade. But look at formative assessment. Its whole reason for being is to give you feedback so you can improve while you're still learning. It's the difference between a verdict and a conversation.
And this is where it gets really powerful. This shift from just a judgment to actual guidance, well, it's like an engine for motivation. So let's look at the psychology behind why this approach is just so incredibly effective. So why does this work so well? Well, psychological research tells us that what really motivates us as humans comes down to three basic needs. We need to feel competent, we need to feel like we have autonomy, and we need to feel a sense of relatedness. Let's break down how formative assessment totally nails all three.
Okay, let's start with the first one, competence. This is that deep, fundamental need we all have to feel like we're effective and capable at what we do.
Think about it. A low score on a final exam can feel, well, crushing. But as the source text explains here, really well-designed formative feedback does two powerful things at once. First, it shows you what you're already doing well, which builds up that feeling of competence. And second, it points to specific areas for improvement. It gives you a real path forward so you see yourself as this growing sprout, not, a failed product.
And this is the absolute key. It's not just about pointing out what's wrong. It's about starting by recognizing what students are doing right. That builds the confidence they need to actually go and tackle the parts that need improvement. That balance is just everything.
All right, next up, autonomy. This is our need to feel like we're in control of our own choices and actions. We want to be in the driver's seat of our own lives, not just a passenger along for the ride.
A final grade is something that just kind of happens to you. It can feel really disempowering. But formative assessment gives you information, and then it puts you in charge. It empowers you to decide how you're going to act on that feedback.
This quote here, it just gets right to the heart of it. The power dynamic completely shifts when the student gets to decide what to do next. You're not just a passive receiver of a grade anymore. You're an active participant in your own learning. That sense of autonomy, it's a massive motivator.
And that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, relatedness. This is our need to feel connected, to feel like we belong and are part of a team.
The typical grading system can feel kind of adversarial, can it? Like the student is trying to win a good grade from the teacher. But formative assessment totally changes that dynamic. It helps build a relationship where it feels like everybody is on the same team, all working together toward the same goal.
This quote shows exactly how that partnership gets built. When teachers give constructive feedback, they're sending a signal that they're on the same team as their students. It's this powerful message that says, hey, I'm here to help you succeed. That feeling of connection can make all the difference in the world.
So when you put all of this together, the focus on feedback, on building competence, autonomy, and relatedness, you land on this really profound shift in perspective.
Some people don't even call it formative assessment. They call it by another name, assessment for learning. Not assessment of learning, but for it. That one little word changes everything.
The ultimate goal here isn't to attach a label or a rating to where a person is right now. Nope, the entire purpose is to be a part of the learning process itself, to be a tool that's used to fuel improvement and success down the road.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought. In our schools, in our jobs, even in our own personal growth, what would change if we really truly believed that the process of getting feedback mattered more than the final score? What could we unlock then?